Hey guys, Krell Cooper here with On the Black, and I'm joined tonight by Matt Cerrone of Mets Blog. How you doing, Matt?
I'm doing good, Krell. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. So let's just kind of get right into it. Obviously, the big news that everyone's talking about, the Mets' financial position, if you will. The news of them possibly selling a minority stake in the team. As a Mets fan, obviously you blog about the Mets, you cover them all the time, but as a fan with spring training right around the corner, has this kind of, in a way, dampened your emotions or excitement about spring training coming up?
Well, I mean, I'm used to it, right? Aren't we all? I feel like I was just talking to one of the beat reporters the other day, and we vent all the time because it's never about baseball. You know, it's even when it's about baseball, it's not about baseball. It's about injuries or it's really been the last couple of years has been crazy. You started it by saying, being a fan, and I am. I'm 100% fan, and that's always how I talk through the blog, and this has been really awkward because I'm a baseball fan and I know baseball and I'm a blogger about baseball. I'm not a lawyer and I'm not, I don't know economics. If I wanted to think this much about law and economics, I'd be a lawyer or a broker. And it's just been really awkward. And in some ways it has put a little bit of a damper, on spring training. At the same time, because I don't, this isn't really my area of expertise. My area of expertise is just being a Mets fan. It hasn't, because I'm still looking forward to the trip in a couple weeks, and I'm planning how I'm bring training to people's computers, and so that's really where my focus has been, to the extent that I'm almost trying to just ignore a lot of the off-field stuff and let the Adam Rubins and these people who I think are overly qualified to do this, let them handle it, and I'll just link to that and focus on baseball, because that's really what I love anyway.
Right. And now, let's talk a little bit about some of the positive things. I think last year, two of the more positive and surprising things with the Mets were the play of Angel Pagan and then R.A. Dickey. I personally thought that those two were sort of like the co-MVPs of the team last year. Anyone currently on the Mets roster you see sort of kind of stepping up and being that type of a surprising player this year?
Yeah, I'm really excited for Josh Thole. And I'm a sucker for the rookie that comes up. Whether it was Reyes back in the day or whoever it might be, like Davis at the time, whatever, Daniel Murphy a couple years ago. I know I totally bought into Daniel Murphy, so maybe that's the same thing here with Josh, but I don't know. I love his discipline at the plate. He got, I think, significantly better defensively, last season. So I know a lot of the pitchers really liked throwing to him. Mm-hmm. Terry Collins is a big fan of him. So I like his position and where he is. I think he's got an opportunity to really take that next step. And he takes things very seriously, and he works really hard. And, he's his, like I said, his discipline at the plate. And I think he actually brings something to the team that they need, which is working counts and kind of controlling his hitting and hitting behind runners. And I think he does that kind of stuff well, and they need that. And I think Mets fans will appreciate it too. And so I'm really looking forward to him and sort of what he brings to the team, because I think they need what he has, and I think fans will really take to it.
Yeah, definitely. One of the things I was impressed about him, it was his pitch selection last year, especially for such a young player.
Right.
Now let's talk about Jason Bay for a second. Big contract with the Mets. Really disappointing year last year. I think he needs kind of, out of any Mets player, he needs to have a big year this year. What are your thoughts on Bay, and what are your expectations of Bay this year?
I think he'll hit 25 home runs. I think I did a poll on Mets Blog and asked people that, and I want to say 60% or so thought, said somewhere between 25 and 30, which I actually think might be high.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. That cold weather, and it's funny because I said this, everybody did, but when I talked to him last spring, I said to him, how are you going to react when you only have 2 home runs in May? Because the ball just gets knocked down out there. Where supposedly his power alley is, the winds whip across that field and just knock everything down. And sure enough, that was sort of the position he was in. And then he had the concussion and he just never really got it together. But I don't know. I never really saw him as a big average guy, and he never really has. But I actually think he was better at Citi Field, or statistically, I think it supports that he was better at Citi Field offensively. Mm-hmm. In the field, I think he was a lot better than I gave him credit for. I thought Matt Holliday was the better defensive player, but I don't know that was totally accurate.
Yeah.
I think he'll be fine as long as he stays healthy. I think, an average season will be, is obviously an improvement from last year, and I think it's, again, something that they need in the middle of that lineup.
Right. I agree with that. So, hey, Matt, I want to thank you for coming on tonight and answering some questions. For those of you out there, if you don't go to Mets blog, I'm not sure why you don't, but, go to Mets blog every day. Great site. Matt does a great job. Michael Barron does a great job on Mets blog as well, too. Thanks for joining me tonight, Matt.
You got it.